what's up? Hello, my name is Liz and you're watching for Booking Out Loud. So today I am doing a mid-month update for April. We are in April. And again, just because I read quite a lot, I want to do kind of a summary and update of what I read in the first half of, April. So I don't have such a huge wrap-up video at the end of the month. And as always, I am hoping I'll have the time to timestamp this video and just make this an easier convenience for you so you can see the update and my thoughts on a particular book that you might be interested in. As of right now, I am currently reading, I might be reading 4 books. So I'm buddy reading with my mom the audiobook of Full Throttle by Joe Hill. By the way, if you're looking for a good audiobook, I would really suggest this one. Every short story, because this is a short story collection, is read by a different person, and it's a good audiobook, point blank. You really get into it. So Full Throttle. I am reading, The Winter of the Witch by Catherine Arden on my ebook. I am still on a journey with House of Leaves, and I'm also buddy reading House on the Cerulean Sea by TJ Klune with Sunny Luca. All right, now on to what I've read this month. I've read a total of 13 books. Again, if you see me looking down that direction, I need a list, so I apologize in advance. But I have read a total of 13 books this month. I had spring break at the beginning of the month, so I was able to read a ton. And we'll just get started from the order that I read them in. So my first book of the month was a romance novel, a faux love story by Loen. And I thought it was such a cute romance novel. I really enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I was going to. It is about 2 high schoolers that their families literally have restaurants across the street from each other, and they cook the same foods and they hate each other. And it is a hate that was started before these 2 were born. So a Romeo and Juliet-esque kind of story. But of course, they meet in high school. Well, they met before high school, but that's a different story. But they meet again in high school and they rekindle a friendship that turns into a little something else. But I found myself really enjoying this novel. I found myself just kind of having a warm heart at the end, and I really liked how this author basically retold a Romeo and Juliet kind of story throughout this novel. And so I gave it a 4-star after I finished. Then my next novel was The Singer's Gun by Emily St. John Mendal. This is my last Emily St. John Mendal book that I needed to read, and now I have completed all of her work. I can firmly say that Mendal is a phenomenal author. She just has a really pretty writing style. It is very, she just has a writing style that really flows, and when you pick up a book, you will say, yes, this is a Emily St. John Mendal book. But going back to The Singer's Gun, it is really about a con man who grew up in a con man family, and after before he's married and planning on his marriage, he is contacted by a previous current member of his family and asked to come back for one last con. And it's kind of interweaving present and past about what happens. And it was really interesting but it just wasn't a story that spoke to me. So I ended up giving it a 3-star, but still thoroughly enjoyed myself while reading it. Now, the next book that I finished was Heart-Shaped Box by Joe Hill. This was my first Joe Hill book. I absolutely loved it. It is about a famous rock star who his passion is collecting different things, kind of horrific things, like a tape of people killing a guy or something connected to ghosts, like some really interesting things. And one day he is contacted about something going on auction. It is a suit that comes with the spirit of a ghost. So he buys it, right? And lo and behold, the ghost comes with it. And then the ghost starts haunting him. And it's not a friendly ghost, to say the least. And it's really interesting because you really get into the horror of it as you go through the story. And the pace really picks up as you go through the story. And Joe Hill is a very, very good writer, to say the least. I gave it a 4-star, point blank. And then I went into One of Us Is Next by Karen and McManus, which is the sequel to One of Us Is Lying, which I had read previously. One of Us Is Next follows kind of the next generation at this high school and a rekindling of this website that is point blank bullying these kids to make them do something. However, this next generation is more like a truth or dare. So either they do something or a rumor / truth of them comes out that these kids want nothing or these kids don't want to get out. I thought this book was a really interesting sequel to One of Us Is Next. Wow. One of Us Is Lying, because not only does it have the same kind of trope around it, and you have, again, the same characters from the first book, but it's kind of like their younger siblings or the next characters in this high school, but it takes like the next step in this idea. If you've read One of Us Is Lying, you kind of know what I'm talking about. There's not much more I can say about it. It's definitely a YA mystery. So it's very, in my opinion, surface level mystery. And I really can't step away from being a teacher and being so mad while I'm reading this and being like, where is the administration? Where are the teachers in this? Where are the adults? Why is no one stopping this? This is bullying. I'm sorry, but there's going to be, like, yeah, you have the older teachers that have no idea what technology is, how technology. But then you have teachers that are younger and, like, can go online and know what a website is and can be like, yeah, this is bullying. We need to stop this. This is not okay. There would be teachers like that to stop this. And I just can't step away from that when I'm reading books like this. But I will say, good book. I can see the appeal for younger readers. Good mystery. I can see the appeal. So I gave it a 3. And then I went into Final Girls by Riley Sager. This is the last Riley Sager book I needed to read. And I really, really, really liked the book from last month that I read, which was One of Us Is Lying? No. That was the Karen and McManus book. This is what happens when I read too much. The last time I lied, I was close. But Final Girls by Riley Sager is about these girls that experienced this horrific mass murder scene, and they were the final ones that survived. It's kind of a trope in the horror genre, like you're the final girl, you're the final survivor. You weren't really supposed to survive, and now you are the only survivor, right? And Riley Sager takes this trope and kind of explores like what happens after they survive, and then gives them another horror to experience, right? And I thought he did the horror really well, but it was more of a thriller book, in my opinion. Thriller mystery. And it was interesting. It wasn't my favorite Riley Sager book ever. I ended up giving it a 4-star, but I really was interested in it. And I'm not gonna lie, and not to toot my own horn or anything, but I called the villain or the evil guy or the killer the first time I met him in the book. And it might just be because I have read all of Riley Sager books now, and he really does follow a certain rhythm in his books. He follows a couple of things when he's writing, which isn't bad. It means he has his stuff down and he knows what works and what doesn't. Did I enjoy it? Yes, I did. Would I read it again? Maybe not. But now I've read all of Riley Sager until his next book release, which I think is this summer. And I can say I enjoy him as an author, and I will be picking up his next release. Okay, number 6 from this month so far is Two Can Keep a Secret by Karen M. McManus. And this is her take on, I guess, twins, right? I thought the title was really interesting because you do have twins and it's like this cycle of twins, not gonna lie. And it is a standalone mystery. And you have these 2 kids, twins, siblings. Yeah. Their mother is going to rehab, and so they move in with their grandmother on this really small town that's also rich. I wasn't quite sure about that, but something happened to their aunt when their aunt was in high school, and their aunt went missing, never heard from again, that kind of thing. And then a couple years before these twins moved to the town, the homecoming queen was killed in a very mysterious way, I believe on homecoming night, if I'm remembering correctly. And that was an unsolved murder case too. And so it's like this town cannot keep away from dead girls. I believe that was the summary on the back, actually. And now these 2 twins come into the town, and there's a lot of mystery that they have to solve. I actually liked this book a lot more than One of Us is Lying and Two Can Keep a Secret from Karen M. McManus. I thought the mystery was done a little bit better. And honestly, I think it's because it doesn't surround the high school as much, and it's more about the town. And again, that's just me personally and my preferences. I ended up giving it a 3.5 star. Yeah. I don't know. I like it. Karen M. McManus has a very certain way on how she does her mysteries, just like Riley Sager. It is a YA mystery, and it's a formula, and that is perfectly fine. If you like these kind of books, you know what you're expecting, and that is great. Oh, okay. So this next book I picked up, fantasy, epic fantasy, Dune by Herbert. Whew, this one was a doozy, to say the least. I think my Kindle version said it was like over 800 pages, which just doesn't seem right. I feel like it was a little less than 800 pages because I've read an 800-page book and it just seemed like it went a lot faster than that. But either way, epic fantasy. There's a movie out by David Lynch, which I won't talk about, but there's a movie coming out this summer, and that's the reason why I wanted to read Dune, because I wanted to read the book before the movie, and also see if I wanted to continue the series, because I think it's a 6-book series. So Dune itself is this epic fantasy world thing. Okay, let's get into it. I thought the first half of the book was point blank very boring. I thought it was really teasing the reader that this huge thing was going to happen, and it's just teasing you, and yes, it's world building and what have you, but it might have just been a part of the 60s, because I haven't read too many books from the 60s, if I'm going to be completely honest. Or let's be frank, I haven't read too many fantasies from the 60s. But Dune itself, the first half, not here for it. But the second half, I really enjoyed, because that's when the adventure picked up, that's when the excitement picked up, and I liked that. But saying that, I think the whole book could have just been the second half. My personal opinion, I know people love Dune. Again, that's just me. However, that second half is the reason why it saved the series for me. I'm excited to read the second book because of the second half. And we'll just see what the second book is about. I think it's Dune Messiah. It's on hold at my library. But we will see how the second book goes if I want to continue the series. Because as that book stands, as Dune stands, I'm not really excited to finish 5 more books of the series. I will read another book in the series because of that second half. But right now, I could take it or leave it. I gave it a 3-star. I enjoyed that second half. So we'll just see. I'm really hoping that second book picks up in the series, though. The way that first book ended was really interesting, and I have high hopes. That's all I'm going to say. We'll see. Oh, okay. And now we're going to talk about the next one, which is also kind of a bummer. I did read, or finally finished, my best friend's Exorcism. I tried to start this book on audio, and eventually I just gave up. It was like 2 months where I didn't enjoy myself at all reading it on audio. And so I finally just ordered it from my library and got a copy and went through it. And I have to say, I'm glad I got it on an ebook, or I guess it would be a physical book for others, because there was certain, I guess, texts that wouldn't really go through on audio. Certain graphics, I guess, is a better word for it. Nonetheless, I did not enjoy this book. Even after finishing it, getting through it, I ended up giving it a 2.5 star, which I do think is very generous in my opinion. I just didn't really like the setting or the delivery of the book. I thought it could have been done better. And I think it really stems down onto Grady trying to set it in the 80s and some of the things said and done. And I think a lot of it too is just Grady's style. Grady Hendrix, the author. I had same complaints, I guess, from the Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires. And I think it's just me and Hendrix not really meshing that well. So I don't think I will be picking up another book by Grady Hendrix, if they even have another book, but that's just me. That's just life. So the next one I read was Needful Things by Stephen King. I enjoyed this book. I went into it just knowing it was about like kind of a satanic or a demon run not bookstore, but like a novelty store. And I came out of this book with a newfound enjoyment of Needful Things, I guess. I wouldn't say this is my favorite Stephen King book, but the way that Stephen King designed this book and the way that, again, well, I shouldn't say again. I'm reading House of Leaves right now, which is a dip into insanity. But the way Stephen King designed this book is that you have this shop open up and it has kind of everything and anything you want to buy in it. And the person that runs this shop is kind of interesting. And as people come in, they're looking for these random things. And the price is set really low for a reason, because the shop owner asks you to not only use money, but also wants you to do something in exchange for the item. And the something is usually to trick someone else or to do something to someone else. And as more and more people are buying things from the shop, it creates a lot of tension in this town. And it's escalating and escalating and escalating until it just kind of blows up. And I really, really liked that the tension in this book is just going up and up and up. And I thoroughly enjoyed that. So I ended up giving it a 3.5. It's not my favorite Stephen King book, like I said, of all time, but it was a really good book, and I do suggest it for anyone who enjoys Stephen King. Now, the next book I read was The Bookshop on the Corner by Jenny Colgan, and this book I found because of Amy from A-Star Reads channel. I thought it might have been a really fun romance to dive into. And it was a nice romance, but there were some things that I just wasn't too fond of. I had my gripes with some of it, and I'll just keep it at that. It was an interesting book. It was an interesting romance. And, well, there you go. Now, the next one was Sadie by Courtney Summers. This was an audiobook that I just kind of ran through. I think I read it in 2 days and I absolutely adored it. It's this mystery of where these girls have gone to. You have Sadie and her sister Maddie, and Maddie ends up being dead and Sadie is just missing. And you have this podcaster trying to figure out the mystery, and then it's paralleled by Sadie's story. And it's really interesting in audio format because you're going through all of these stories and it's a full cast in audio. And it was just wonderful, wonderful to listen to because they did it so, so well. And it truly was a mystery and it really, really sad subjects. But if you have a chance, I would highly suggest listening to it on audio rather than just going through the book. Great story, sad story. I gave it a 3.5 stars though in the end. And then the next 2 books I'm going to talk about together because I just read Get a Life, Chloe Brown, and Take a Hint, Dani Brown. And I say that they're together because they are by the same author in a same series. You don't have to read them in order. You don't have to read them together. But they're very similar in a romance kind of scheme. And they were a 3-star romance, both of them, for me. I thought they were a really well done romance. I personally liked Get a Life, Chloe Brown a little bit more than Take a Hint, Dani Brown. But still really, really cute romances, and I think I would suggest this series of romance more than like Bookshop on the Corner, at least more recently from books that I've read. So a little bit longer of a review or an update from me, but I hope some of these books piqued your interest or were reviewed a little bit. Some, I don't know. But I hope you liked it. If you liked it, give me a thumbs up. If you read one of these books or are planning to read these books, please leave me a comment below. And have a wonderful, wonderful day. I will see you next time. Bye.